Good evening, everybody. Welcome you all to the grand evening concert for this year's Haridasa Day. We are very privileged to have Dr. R.S. Nandakumar, who will be presenting first a lecture demonstration, and then he will have following that will be the music concert. The topic of the lecture demonstration will be Karnataka Sangeetada Adya Purusharu Haridasaru, which is the pioneers of Carnatic music, who were the Haridasa music creators of the Haridasa music. So he'll be talking about that. Before that, let me give you a quick introduction. I don't have a very organized one here, but I'm sure that will give you a good idea of who he is. Dr. R.S. Nandakumar is a natural musician. He's a fourth generation musician in the parampare of Saint Tyagaraja. He is the great grandson of the great Ramalingaya, of the great Ramalingaya, grandson of the musician couple Ramayya Varalakshmi, son and disciple of Padma Shri awardee Maha Mahopadhyaya Dr. R. Satyanarayana. His paternal uncles include vocalists, composers, veena players, painters, sculptor, and modeler, etc. of natural stature. He has many interesting dimensions. He is adept in yoga and in Sri Vidya Tantra, and in a wizard in predictive astrology. He is a scholar in Haridasa music with a PhD in Sripada Rajaru and his work. He is an expert in many forms of Haridasa music like Dandaka, Vrittanama, Suladi, etc. Like I said, I have just given a very small window into the amazing talent that Dr. Nandakumar is, but we are very privileged to have him. He is extremely knowledgeable, and we are really looking forward to hearing from him this evening. Please welcome Dr. Nandakumar. I'll quickly introduce Vijay Ganesh before I introduce Vishesh. Vijay Ganesh again needs no introduction. He was here last weekend as well. But a seasoned mridangist, and he's learnt this divine art from a very young age and had his tutelage under great and illustrious master Vidwan, late Sri Kumbakonam Rajappa Iyer. He has performed extensively in music festivals in India and the US and accompanied many great Carnatic musicians, vocalists, and other instrumentalists. He has also played with outstanding musicians of the Hindustani stream. He is an AIR Chennai graded artist. He has won several awards, and please welcome Shri Vijay Ganesh. On violin, we have the young Vishesh Upur. We are very happy to have him play this evening. Vishesh has grown up in this area and in this temple quite a bit, and very happy to see him perform for an evening concert here at the temple. We are looking forward to his performance. He is a very young PhD student at the University of Maryland, and multi-talented kid. We are looking forward to his violin performance today. Please welcome Vishesh and enjoy the lecture demonstration followed by the music concert.
Dear people, the concert is already won because the Vijay is here, the win is here, and the Vishesha is also here. It's a great privilege to be here. It's a kind of a dream come true that I'm here. All thanks to Vasu, most venerated Vasu. He is here. Thank you very much, sir. And Sridhar, Dr. Sridhar. He had come to Mysore and gave a delectable performance on Veena Shivaramaya, and that's when I decided I have to invade his home, and he has kindly allowed me to. And it's great to be here. And Srimati Subhadramma is here, our eldest, and seeing you all is a great pleasure. When I mentioned to Vijay that let me reduce the time taken for the lecture demonstration, what about the concert, he readily agreed. I'm sure that's the mood with you also, but a Sabhasada is described in our country as Sabha Lakshmi Lasya Vilasa, Sabha Lankara, Sabha Saraswati Aparavatara, and more importantly, Jagannatha Charita Jaladhara Mayura. That is, when the Jagannatha Charita clouds form, the Mayura, the peacock, dances. Let's get back to a few centuries. Let's start from the 7th century. Dear people, the Karnataka, as we know, was called as Karnataka. A huge portion of the Maharashtra called the Maharashtra. Lot of Kerala, lot of Tamil Nadu. In fact, great kings of Tamil Nadu like Tulajendra called themselves as Karnataka Maharaja. There is a reason for that. And what is now Karnataka? Huge portions of Andhra Pradesh. They were all one, rightly called as South India. During that time, a revolution was slowly taking place in the Sangeeta. The question was, should music be common for all or all for common? That was the question. The answer was not easy. Now the answer can be easy, but then the answer was not easy. It so happens that in our country, the Bharata, elsewhere in the world also, a realm, a group of people, huge countries, huge settlements, civilizations take more than 3 or 4 centuries in a transit. There is a kind of a huge problem or a huge settlement, and slowly it goes into recension, and from recension it takes a period of small no man's land like confusion, and then the great people are born who will steer clear of all this confusion and take you on the path of settledness, identity, cultural identity, intellectual identity. Similar thing happened in Karnataka from 7th century. Karnataka then was a huge abode of all knowledge streams, all technology also. I am not going to go in depth into it because it's going to bore you. But I can tell you this much. Right from 13th century up to 16th century, 13, 14, 15, 16, there was a revolution slowly brewing in Karnataka. And in 16th century, great men were born. In one of my studies, I traced back the history of Karnataka music diligently, very cautiously to 16th century. Where did it happen? It happened all over our country. But it converged in a place called Vijayanagara in the middle of the Karnataka. A young boy in a nearby place to Mysuru, nearby place, Channapatna, and there was this Abburu. A great seer walked up and looked at this boy, the cowherd, and decided, he shall do the Renaissance. He shall revolutionize the part of the country's music and culture and thinking. By then, the Bhakti Pantha was already eminently established. There were a lot of uncertainties in music. There was all sorts of confusions regarding the raga, the tala, the basics of music, the formal content of music. Right from the 16th century, prior to that 13th century, prior to that 17th century, people sang what they called as prabandha. Kattal pattiddu prabandha. That you can bind together in an organized manner as a musical composition was a prabandha. And believe me, dear people, there were thousands and thousands of varieties of prabandha. The cognoscenti enjoyed the knowledge of these varieties. But what about people? People like me, who are basically born with a little less of the grey matter. What would they do? Then they couldn't differentiate anything. So they sang their music. They couldn't get away from music. See, music was an essential part of the continent called Bharata. They couldn't get away from it. Now, this music was Tauryatrika, Geetam, Vadyam, Nrityam. All the three. It was here. By the time the 15th century came, the prabandhas were going out of vogue. The huge bhakti movement used a compositional genre called Pad. I'm sure most of you have heard about it. Pad. There was a repeating phase and there are a lot of stanzas. That repeating phase repeated after each stanzas and people sang. It was very easy for them to do. But what happened in between, how they sang the stanzas, how they sang the repeating phase was all still in a turmoil. And how what was the raga that they used? What was the rhythmic cycle that they used? No problem. It was then the Brahmanya Tirtha decided, this boy of Abburu shall create a world in which from 16th to 21st century and counting shall go forever and stabilize as a form or the style of music. This boy was immediately whisked away after the parents' permission to Sriranga. Sriranga is an abode of Padmanabha Swami. There, the ancient ritual of invoking the god, prayers to the god, the puja to the god, had to be through a music system called Arayar Seva. Arayar. To this day, there are great families who are dedicated to this. They are called as Arayars. The man took sannyasa, the boy, stayed there, imbibed Bhagavata, Bharata, Vishnu Dharmottara Purana, Veda, Vedanga, Alankara, and all that. But his guru mended him and infused into him the wisdom. The wisdom was all the Vedic knowledge, all the knowledge streams depended on Samskrita. But there was huge population outside who couldn't understand Samskrita. There were only some people who could understand. And hence, the population who couldn't take up Samskrita depended on their own esoteric narratives, what we now call as the Kandachara. It was then this young genius of a boy decided to bring the wisdom of his predecessor, the great Narahari Tirtha. It had to be as easy Kannada or the local vernacular as possible. He had to do a lot of job, you see. He had to look at Prabandha and recreate, not lose even an iota of the values of the Prabandha, but he had to recreate the entire thing, restructure, reinvent the musical formal content which he did. It was inspired by the pan-Indian musical composition called Pad. And then he used this creativity without deviating from the wisdom of his predecessor Adyaru and the Narahari Tirtha. This young seer called Shripada Raja, he was a Raja, you see, he's a king. Shripada Raja, or later fondly called as Shripada Raya in Karnataka. Raja is in Sanskrit, Raya is in Kannada. The Guru said, you have done well. Get back into your Mula Samsthana. The boy with his entourage came and settled in the western part of the Vijayanagar Emperor, called the Mulubagilu, rightly called as Mulubagilu. It was then that because of the huge cultural turmoil, there was not only a downfall of the kingdom was in a war condition. There was a lot of problems in that kingdom. There were wealth, of course, because of the wealth war happened. There was also a cultural war, internal instability. Then this young man, the great seer Shripada Raja, decided to establish his mutt in the Mulubagilu. People, please go and have the darshan of that Mulubagilu Matha once in a while, if you can. And then that henceforth the seed for what we now call as the Karnataka Sangeeta or the Karnataka music was sown and soon took into the fertile soil of the hearts and intellects of the Karnataka people. The Tamil people were there who were ready to pounce upon them. They were great Dikshitas. Their Tamil language was already well formed. There was these Kerala people, the Malayalam people was mostly dependent on the Samskrita words for its terminology. The Andhra, well known for their Vedanga studies. Karnataka, well known for their many-folded Tantric and Vedic studies. Everything came together and gladly, happily accepted. And hence, the very first inception of the Vyasakuta happened. These were the seers, you see. They took both the vernacular Karnataka, Kannada, and the Samskrita, and they took all the values and ethics of the Vedanga, everything, Purana, brought it down. They digested, brought the products in simple Karnataka, Kannada. All the songs that you have heard henceforth are not just songs, dear people. They are the very cauldron in which the wisdom of the great continent called Bharata is invested. If you just hear that, you will get that wisdom. It is not that you have to hear, digest and cogitate. It is already pre-digested. It is just given to you. It's a currency that is given to you. Now you take it, be at peace with that. And then it will be yours. Your life, the process of your life will accept that. Slowly you will realize new meanings to these sentences. Shripada Raja had a wonderful student, his disciple, called Vyasaraya. Let me tell you a small story. I know which I am not going to bore you. Vyasaraya came a young Bala Sannyasi to his fold. Shripada Raja has Venugopala Swami worshipping. He has inherited from his predecessors. At one time, Shripada Raja had this great facility, a great a given thing in his life. It's called Sukha Prarabdha. When he wanted food, the very best food came to him. When he wanted to rest well, the very best of the bed came to him. When he wanted to worship, The Sakshat Venugopala was there to get the puja from him. This yoga is called Sukha Prarabdha Yoga. Why Prarabdha? Why bad connotation for this? Because he is a sannyasi, you see. He cannot take that, but he had to take that. That's why it was a Prarabdha, but it was a Sukha Prarabdha. It so happens that one of those days, rare days, Sri Padaraja felt a little uneasy. He gave the puja and rituals and everything, responsibilities to his dear disciple, Vyasaraya. Vyasaraya was a very devoted student. By then, Sri Padaraja, his guru, was so thrilled by this man, so impressed by this student. He was calling his Vyasaraya as Kalpana Chaturanana. Chaturanana is Brahma. In this Kalpana, he was like a Brahma. And then, after this puja, right from the morning until the evening, it was going on, and the Vyasaraya wouldn't stop this. And then, well-recovered Sri Padaraja came and looked at Vyasaraya, what he was doing. Vyasaraya was singing in ecstasy. He was also dancing in ecstasy, and there was another one dancing along with him. That was the Sakshat Venugopala. That was when the very seed that was already sown into the fertile soil of the Karnataka Desha now became a huge tree bearing fruits. Padi Nartisi Krishnanna Susi Pujisuva. You have to sing, you have to dance. That is how you worship Krishna. Venugopala. This was inaugurated then. And our South India never looked at that. Sri Padaraja composed many songs. Altogether, the Dasakuta and the Vyasakuta, the two people, formed the very first, they were the very first originators of what we now call as the Karnataka Sangeeta. Why? Because they have given all the formal content. Pallavi, Anupallavi, Charna was theirs. All the Suda, the Tala that we use now was given by them. They have taken both the essence of Veda Traisvarya, the threesomeness of the swaras that you can take. Sariga, Danisa, or Sariga, Padani. These three swaras were taken juxtaposed, kept one above the other, making Sariga and Padani, and the Madhyama was there, and Sarigama Padani, hence the Saptaswara was taken. All those people who could sing took the Saptaswara and did a great job like all the great Vidwans are doing. But all those people who couldn't settled on to what was the Traisvarya Mattu, a system of singing, a Mattu, a musical formula based on that. They could easily sing anything. And hence, the Dasa Pada came into being. And Devara Nama, the Lord's name, came in. Kriti, a Paryaya Nama, the alter name of the Pada or the Prabandha happened. And Kirtana, Sankirtana followed suit. And to this day, don't you see that we are doing that and more when we do the performance? Of course, in a Karnataka music we sing Alapana. Haridasas, especially the Sri Padaraja made provisions for that, for the Alapana. He called that as the Ragalapti. There are written evidences for that. Then we are doing the Nirval or the Nerval. That he called as the Rupakalapti. We have evidence for that. And then he created the Swarakalpana, the Kalpita Swara, which we have in abundance today. We are beholden to this Vyasa parampara. It's a very small minuscule explanation of the huge works undertaken. They addressed every aspect of our life. Every aspect you can think of. Krishi, agriculture, your personal finances, they have addressed. Your personal health, they addressed. The family setup, they have addressed. Ayurdaya, Shodasha Samskara, they have addressed. You name it, they have addressed in the thousands and thousands of kirtanas. Originally, I wanted to start the whole lecture demonstration as a separate thing and come to you with a concert. Now, seeing that the time is moving on, let me pay my respects before you to Sri Raja, and before that to the great Vadi Raja. He has composed the Brahmara Gita inspired by the 5 Gitas enshrined in the Bhagavata Mahapurana. In that, Brahmara Gita is a very important Rupaka. And then Uddhava Gita is there. And Bhagavad Gita, of course, all of you know. And like that, they have totally 5 kirtanas. Out of that, this Vadi Raja took his disciples to Udupi and staged this Brahmar Gita for the first time before the Krishna in the streets of the Udupi then. I would like to take the very first bit of that and then start with a kirtana. Perhaps the very first kirtana, very first kriti ever inherited by the realm of Karnataka Sangeeta.